Over the years, we've talked about various Christian celebrities, I'll put that in air quotes, and their impact on the world. And this is, today I've just got 10 folks. I'm going to hit each one very briefly and talk about where are they now? What's happened to them? I mean, these are all folks that we've talked about on the show over the years. And has the continued wonder-working power of religion improved these folks? You be the...
If I know where they are now, am I supposed to say where they are now?
Well, if you have any comments or insights into them, feel free to chime in.
Sweet.
Okay. Peter Popoff.
Ah, yes. Peter Popoff is back and almost as big as ever, shockingly enough.
Yes. So in the 80s, he ran a faith healing scam that was exposed by James Randi on national television. It's kind of helped make James Randi famous, I think.
And got Johnny Carson to curse on live, on the air live. Yeah.
And yeah, they were getting messages from the Holy Spirit supposedly, and calling on individual people. And James Randi figured out they had earpieces and mics, and the wife was actually reading from cards that people signed when they came in. And anyway,
okay, Petey, if you're not ready, you're in real trouble.
Yes.
Go watch the clip. It's on YouTube, but watch it after this show.
Yes. Now he's got a late night TV scam. He's marketing blessed water to the gullible, and what he's really wanting is people to call in and give their telephone numbers to them for people who are desperate and need a boost from God of some sort. And
yeah.
I presume he's going to squeeze them for money. If I had to guess, but
yes, if they're giving you something for free or cheap, be prepared for the upsell.
Right.
Which is, you can afford this blessed water, which will help you, but we've got a bucket of blessed goop that we sell for $150 an ounce,
and it's invisible,
and it will make you live as long as God wants you to live.
Yeah. So he's still scamming. Okay, Pat Robertson. There's a lot
True
to
story
say about him. He took over the Christian Broadcast Network and became a very visible televangelist. He had an unsuccessful run for presidency in 1988.
Yep.
He is famous in my mind for blaming the victims of weather-related disasters.
I think we should just coin that as a new word, flamous.
Flamist?
Yeah.
Flamist.
He got famous for being a flaming asshole.
He's had various fun and interesting business deals involving blood diamonds and weight loss shakes or protein shakes. And he has 5 failed prophecies.
At least.
At least, right. And where is he now? Well, he's still crazy after all these years. He's fading out. I don't think he'll be with us that much longer. One of his quotes is, feminism is a socialist, anti-family political movement that encourages women to leave their husbands, kill their children, practice witchcraft, and destroy capitalism and become lesbians.
As if those were bad things.
That's too funny.
Yeah,
So
not remotely true and not necessarily a bad thing.
And recently he was in the news for, blaming a victim for her cancer or whatever illness she had. Okay, great guy. Ken Ham.
I can tell you exactly where he is right now. The American Atheist National Convention is on Easter weekend, and it's going to be in Columbus, Ohio, I believe?
Yeah.
Or Cincinnati, Ohio. You don't quote me. Just go to atheist.org and look it up yourself. I'll be there. But at the same time that the American Atheists are having their convention, why? Ken Ham and Ray Comfort decided that they should put on a convention not too far away to kind of compete. Now,
he's on my list too.
the whole reason that the American Atheist Convention is on Easter, or one of the many reasons, is not just that it's kind of an amusement that we're doing this on a holiday that Christians stole from pagans, but also because it's not a holiday we would celebrate or care about, and yet people tend to have that weekend off.
Well, you get cheaper
exactly
tickets and things. Right?
Because Christians, by and large, will go to church and then hunt Easter eggs, and that's it. That's their day. So I think they've made a mistake trying to book a convention alongside that on Easter weekend, because that's, for normal Christian families, that's where they spend with their families. They go to church, and then they do the family thing.
We'll see.
There aren't conventions on Christmas, by the way. That would be a big mistake.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he's a hardcore young earth creationist. He's pumped out a lot of creationist drivel over the years. He had a debate with Bill Nye in 2014 where he argued the past is unknowable to science and therefore his holy book should fill that gap. And the event brought a lot of media attention to his Creationist Museum, even though a lot of folks think that Bill Nye won the debate.
Everybody except for Ken Ham believes that Bill Nye won that debate.
Yeah, right. Lately, he's been scamming Kentucky out of tax incentives for his failing Ark Park, Noah's Ark Park, and it's been losing money and not coming through with the promised job creation and embroiled in one scandal after another. I think there's maybe 20 scandals associated with it at this point.
By the way, I put out a challenge the other day. If Ken Ham and Ray Comfort would like to have me speak at their convention, I would be happy to do so.
Okay.
I'll be in the area. I won't charge you a penny. You can plop me on stage and have people ask me questions until you're tired of me. But I'll take one for the team and do that.
Wow, what an offer! Somehow I don't think they'll take you up on it.
Yeah, which is going to be a little bit of hypocrisy because Ray Comfort was asked and allowed to speak at an American Atheist convention one time.
There you go.
So your move, creationists.
Speaking of creationist, Kent Hovind.
I know he's out of prison now.
He's out of prison. That's kind of the punchline. He's a goofy young Earth creationist.
Dr. Dino.
Dr. Dino ran Dinosaur Adventureland, had a fake $25,000 prize for anyone who could prove evolution.
Yeah.
He got his PhD mail order. And he's been criticized by Answers in Genesis as using bad and outdated arguments.
I think his PhD was from something like Patriot University or something.
That sounds right.
It was a trailer out in the middle of nowhere that's not accredited. There's pictures of it, and you can find his thesis as well if you do a quick Google search.
It's a good laugh. Yeah. It's worth doing, yeah. So as Matt said, he's recently out of jail for his tax evasion.
Yeah, and I don't want to beat him up too much for that stuff because it's not relevant to his ministry, apart from the fact that he seemed to think that because of his relationship with God and the work that he was doing, that he was not on the same playing field as everybody else. So,
yeah.
Meanwhile, he's had a
it's
falling
really sad
out
when they believe their own stuff, right?
He's had a falling out with his son, divorced his wife, and married his mistress. So
fun.
Hey, maintain that moral high ground there, Kent.
Yeah, he's probably one of the slimiest ones on my list here. Michael Behe's next.
He just published a new book.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, like within the last week or so, people have been ripping it to shreds.
Oh, no. Well, he's a scientist, author, and intelligent design proponent. He promoted the idea of irreducible complexity and gave several examples and challenges, all of which have been refuted by now.
Including refuted by other Christians in the Dover-Kitzmiller trial.
Yeah, that famous case, he was kind of a big player in the Kitzmiller versus Dover case, and where ID was found to be a repackaging of creationism.
Her design proponent systems.
Yeah. So he's also been shunned by his fellow professors at Lehigh University, so he's a little bit of a pariah there. So, but he has a new book, huh? Do you know the title?
I don't know the title off the top of my head. It's something about the new DNA evidence that disproves evolution or something along those lines.
Okay.
It's
more of the same, huh?
The reviews, I haven't read the book, but the reviews I've read have basically said that he's going through and cherry picking essentially things that are problematic and ignoring the responses from proper scientists. I think Jerry Coyne had a blog post about it the other day.
Okay. All right. Pope Benedict the 16th, Ratzinger.
Yeah.
So he was he had an ambitious rise to power within the Catholic hierarchy, despite being a Hitler Youth, as prefect of the Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith, formerly known as the Roman Inquisition. He had inside knowledge of
That's one you should expect.
Yeah. He had inside knowledge of all priest scandals and very likely covered up a few. He was sued and some folks tried to bring him to trial in the U.S. in 2005, but he claimed diplomatic immunity and later stepped down as pope, which is very, very unusual. Usually they die. I think that hasn't happened in 600 years. and now lives in the Vatican under a rock or whatever with all the other folks that are hiding out there from legal authorities.
And Tim Minchin wrote a song about him. So, and that's probably the best thing that happened during Ratzinger's reign was Tim Minchin wrote the Pope song, which you should also watch after this show is over.
Okay, lots of good stuff. Ted Haggard, another inspirer.
Completely
of a song.
heterosexual.
Right. He inspired a Roy Zimmerman classic.
Yes, he did.
I highly recommend you watch. He was a Colorado Springs minister. He still is. He was president of the National Association of Evangelicals and was considered one of the most influential evangelical ministers.
But he liked meth and rent boys.
Yes, Beth and rent boys. So his hypocrisy was exposed because he's been speaking out against same-sex marriage and that sort of thing. And after a high-profile prayer intervention among his peers, he's back ministering again in Colorado Springs. I think these folks really don't have any other job skills, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, I feel more sad for the individuals who have signed up and are part of the clergy project because a lot of them are stuck in jobs that they really can't get out of because they don't have any other skill base. They've been preaching for 20, 25, 30 years. And it makes me wonder how many of these that, get busted for some crime or some, moral dilemma, and then they're back in the pulpit. Is it because that they don't have they don't know how to do anything else? They don't have any other options? Or is it because they actually sincerely believe? And I think that it's going to depend on the individual. It's 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Yep. Ray Comfort. We mentioned him briefly. He's an evangelical minister. He's founded the Living Waters Ministry and the Way of the Master organization. He's published tracts that look like money and
got it taken away.
Yeah, anyway. He's teamed up with actor Kirk Cameron on various media projects.
Who's a misogynist piece of shit?
Oh, yeah, he's kind of bad news. He had a failed bananas or atheist nightmare argument.
Which is now part of my traveling magic and skepticism show.
Is it? Okay, good.
It's the first thing.
He had a failed "Are you a good person?" apologetic.
Wait. So to say that Ray Comfort had a failed "Are you a good person?" apologetic is kind of like, that's one of 20,000 failed apologetics.
Yep.
Why did you pick that one?
I don't know. I just find it very annoying.
It's amusing.
It's annoying.
He was exposed for that years ago on the Hellbound Alley show because he'd say, are you a good person? I'm not going to get the accent right. Sorry. Have you ever told a lie? Well, what does that make you? It makes you a liar. And they said, Ray, have you ever told the truth? And he's like, oh, good one. Yeah. How is it you can do this apologetic? Have you ever told a lie for years and never think about the possibility that I've also told the truth?
Yep. So that's a bad one. He also reissued The Origin of the Species, claiming that it was unmodified, but had many chapters missing.
Did it? Yeah. Because I thought that all that happened was he published it in its entirety with his.
That's what he claimed.
Thing on the front. Okay, yeah, I didn't go through it because I didn't need to read his introduction to The Origin of Species. Yeah.
So lately he did a new video called The Atheist Delusion. I wonder where that title came from.
I'm sure Richard's not going to sue him.
He argues that DNA is like a book. Books can't copy themselves. Gee whiz, DNA is amazing. Therefore, God exists.
Yeah, except that one of the areas in which DNA is not like a book is that DNA can copy itself.
That's right.
So your analogy falls apart at the very first sentence.
That's right.
DNA is like a book, except that it can copy itself and it's not made of words.
Yeah, right.
Or paper.
So think reproduction and cell division. Okay. Harold Camping.
I know where he is. He's dead.
He's dead, right. So he was a small-time wackadoodle minister predicting the end of the world twice.
Repeatedly.
Repeatedly, yes. So he was a proven fraud, demonstrating via his followers that a fool and his money are soon parted.
The fool and his money were lucky to get together in the first place.
Right.
To go with a Harry Anderson
He died
quote.
in 2013, and the world is still going just fine.
It's funny because the nice thing about Harold Camping is that the last rapture that he had, which was May 5th, 2011, 2012, something like that, we He was out in the Oakland, California area. So I flew out to the American Atheists put on what was called the Oakland Rapture RAM, and RAM was Regional Atheist Meetup. And so it was like a mini convention there in Oakland. And I was there with a great many awesome people. Greta Christina and I pulled out the blow dryer and did deep baptisms wearing robes. Keith Lowell Jensen was there. That's where he and I first met. Mr. Deity was there as well. And the funny thing is that in the evening, in one of the later talks, I think it was right in the middle of Brian's Mr. Deity talk, there was an earthquake. So here we are on Rapture Day, and we're gathered here, and there's an earthquake. And it was one that you could actually feel that, it wasn't like a, hey, was that an earthquake? It was like, oh, wow. That was an earthquake. Yeah. Not terrifying, nothing, fell down or broke, but it was enough. And I'm not going to do Keith's joke because I don't steal jokes. And it's funny, you should listen to Keith talk about it. But people got quiet and it's looking around. And that's when I yelled, "Is that the best you got?" And then we went on with the convention. And then Harold Camping died. So, yeah.
Okay. Good story. Good story. Then there was this Jesus character. He was raving about the end of the world and delusions of grandeur.
Maybe.
And he said he'd return and made predictions about the timing, but those predictions are a failure. They didn't happen. And he's still dead, and he's been a false prophet for 2,000 plus years.
If he ever existed, as far as we can tell, he's not alive.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many of these famous Christians are just as oily as they ever were. Even when their frauds are exposed, they keep going, like the Energizer Bunny. And there's no real power within Christianity to clean up themselves or these frauds, so they persist. And ultimately, the belief is a fraud, and many of the people that promote it are working a scam. And these people are not going to lead you to eternal salvation, but or eternal bliss. They're just preying on your ignorance, and that's another failure of Christianity.
It's an interesting take on all of this because, there's other names you could have picked out.
Yeah, there's a much larger list.
But
yes.
The thing that I find interesting is, here's Peter Popoff, who's exposed as a fraud on live TV in a shocking way and ends up, I think, bankrupt, at least temporarily, and is now back making millions of dollars a year with yet another scam. The same thing happened with Jim and Tammy Faye Baker, with Jimmy Swaggart and his, let me cry and tell you how sad I was to have sex with those women. And you weren't sad to have sex. Sorry, that's a big fat lie. And yet, he's back. They're like cockroaches in the sense that they're really, really difficult to get rid of. But it's not for lack of trying. It's the fact that a huge portion of the population evidently loves a cockroach that they think can still benefit them in some way.
Yeah.
Tell them something they don't know. And, if it's all about forgiveness, then you should forgive these people for the scams that they did in the past so that they can scam you again.
Right.
It's an embarrassing kind of sad look at the world that, fool me once, fool me twice, fool me three times, fool me every Sunday at midnight as I buy your little bits of oil. I can't even hardly blame these guys that they have found an audience that is so gullible that, much like another figure that I won't mention, they seem to be able to get away with pretty much anything and maintain their position of power and authority over others.
Yep.
That doesn't happen so much in other venues. At least for the most part, the secular humanist community has been really good about making sure that, hey, if this person's terrible and doing bad things to our community, they're not going to be welcome at our events anymore, let alone hold a position of leadership. Not always true, but sometimes. There we go.